Hello everybody, it's Jeff from Close to Home in Glastonbury here. Very excited to present our brand new Block of the Month series. Very excited to start with this one. This one's going to be called A Stroll by the Seaside. Thank you to everybody who participated last year. It was great to see what everybody did with that tourmaline fabric. And we're definitely going to mellow it down with a beautiful fabric from Robin Pickens and Moda. From their line Serena Shores, so I hope you're as excited as I am about it. A little housekeeping first. If you participated last year and you want to be eligible for our annual contest, then have your quilts ready by Saturday, April 5th. Bring them into the store so that they can get photographed. We'll take a nice photograph of them, and then you'll be eligible for the competition, and voting. We'll have more details about the voting soon. But without any further ado, let's get to the brand new block. Again, this one is really beautiful. I have another suggested setting this year. Last year it was houses. This year we're going to be setting it in a storm at sea pattern, which if you're not familiar, it's diamonds and economy blocks and the sashing that give it a kind of rounded look, kind of a wave look, and our blocks are going to go in the very middle. So let's start like we do every year, making sure everybody's starting on the right foot, that everybody has, fresh needles in their machine, pins. Definitely check your rulers. As always, my most common rulers that I use are the 12.5 inch by 12.5 inch square and a long 6 to 6.5 inch or even 8 and 8.5 inch by 24 inch ruler for cutting yardage. Now this year I highly recommend that you use a couple of other rulers. They're going to be used in the sashing, but they're also going to be used in a couple of the blocks, and those are the triangle squared ruler. This ruler is great for making triangles that fit into a square perfectly. We're also going to be using these for the diamonds. So this one is from Creative Grids. It's called the Triangle Squared, and the companion to that is the Perfect Rectangle ruler. This one is going to set that triangle into the square perfectly. Now if you don't have these, you can order them from the store, absolutely. We do have some in the store, but if we run out, we can absolutely order those. Right now they're only going to be used for the setting. However, in the future they're going to be used in a few of the blocks as well. Now if you don't have the rulers, you can still make the setting and the future blocks. I will provide some templates for you so that you can use those instead to trace around, and you'll get the same shape that you would with the ruler. But the ruler is going to be a lot easier so that you can get those nice crisp cuts. And from there, we are very excited to announce that we are going to be doing in-person classes again. So on the last Friday of the month, all of the blocks will get released, and then on the Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. you can come in for a demonstration, for a show and tell, check out the store, and it'll be great to see people in class. I know people are very excited. So our first one is tomorrow, February 1st. And if you can't make it, that's fine. We are still running things as normal as we did before. So you can just come in and grab your block. Again, it's $10 for your first block. If you bring in the previous month's block, once February's block comes out, then you can get the next one. If you do not have the previous block, then each subsequent block costs an additional $10. And again, at the end of the year, we will do a contest. So I'm very excited. I'm just super excited to start. So let me see my notes here, because there's a lot to go through for this very first block. Again, it's a 12-month program, so we're beginning here in January and it will end at the end of the year. And you will, now let's talk a little bit about our fabric requirements. So again, you do not have to use the suggested storm at sea setting, but if you would like to, then it's going to be for blocks and the suggested setting, you'll need 4¼ yards of a background fabric, and you're going to need 3 different accent colors. The 2 accent colors, 1 and 2, are going to be used for the blocks, and the 3rd accent color is only used for the sashing, the Storm at Sea setting and the big diamonds. So again, 4¼ yards of the background fabric. For accent color number 1, you're going to get 2 yards. For accent color number 2, you're going to get 1½ yards. And for accent color number 3 that will go into the setting, you're going to use 2½ yards. And again, as always, you'll be provided with that focus fabric, so that'll supplement what you have as well. Now, if you're not going to be making the setting, then you are going to need 2 yards of a background fabric, 1½ yards of an accent color number 1, and 1½ yards of accent color number 2. For me, my favorite part of a quilt is selecting all of these different colors and things. We can definitely help you at the store if you need help selecting your accent colors. So now let's move ahead to this first block, our January block. It's called Lady of the Lake. Now, in a subsequent video next month, we're going to talk a little bit more about making the setting for you, so stay tuned for that. But for now, Lady of the Lake. Here's our first block, Lady of the Lake. This is an old block that's seen in quilts from even the early 1800s. Really cool design, a lot of half square triangles, reminiscent of a kind of reflecting pool. It's going to use the 2 at a time method of making half square triangles we've used before. And we're also going to talk about doing 8 at a time half square triangles for the border triangles. There are 20 in that border. So let's get started. The cuts you will need from this block are from your focus fabric that we provide, 1 9" by 9" square, and from your accent color number 2, that's in my block, the white with the blue shells, 1 9" by 9" square. Then from accent color number 1, that's my turquoise kind of wave fabric there. You're going to need 3 6" by 6" pieces. And then from your background, that's my white on white, you're going to use and cut 3 6" by 6" pieces. We're going to make some marks on some of our fabrics here. So starting with your accent color number 2, 9" square, that's my white with blue shells. On the back of that, I am going to mark a diagonal line from one corner to the other. Then I'm going to take my 3 6" by 6" background squares, and I'm going to make quite a few marks on this. This is the one we're going to use make the 8 at a time half square triangles with. So I'm going to mark from corner to corner on both corners, and I'm also going to make a line down the middle on both sides of the square, so you get kind of a 8-pointed asterisk or star design there. My accent number 2 square, the 9" white with the blue shells, I'm going to pair that with my focus fabric 9" square. So put those right sides together. I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch on each side of the marked line. Then I will cut on the marked line, and I will press the seams toward the focus fabric, or open if you prefer, and then make sure you trim that down because that will be oversized to 8½ inches by 8½ inches. Now this will make 2 of these. You will only need 1, so you can save the other one for a later time. Now for the 8 at a time half square triangles, we're going to pair the background squares with my accent color number 1, which is my turquoise here. And you're going to pair all 3 of those together, right sides together. Then you are going to sew 1/4 inch on each side of only the diagonal lines that we marked. So sew it on both of those diagonal lines, and then when you cut, you will cut on all 4 marked lines. So cut the diagonal lines and cut the lines down the middles. And then once you iron those toward the accent color, or open if you prefer, you will trim those squares down to 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch squares. For this you only need 20 blocks and you're going to be making 24, so the extra 4 you can save for another time. And here you see our finished blocks here, so again you're going to have only one of that large half square triangle and 20 of the smaller half square triangles there. Now we're going to sew those smaller half square triangles into rows. Here you can see that we're going to have one row of 6 and another row of 4. You're going to be making 2 of each of these rows. Be very careful when you put these together because it does matter how these half square triangles are placed. If you place them the other way, they won't quite line up in our final block. So for our top one, you're going to take 6 of them, sew those all together, and you're going to iron toward the background fabric. And then for the bottom one, that's going to end up being our sides. You're going to take 4 of them. You'll notice the triangles go the other way. Sew those 4 together, and again iron toward the background fabric, or on any of these open if you prefer. Now you're going to have 2 of the 6 row and 2 of the 4 row. And from there we just have to complete our block. So we have our large half square triangle in the middle. Our rows of 4 are going to sew on to the side, so you can sew those, and then I press toward the large half square triangle or open. Then we will add our top and our bottom. Those get sewn on and ironed toward the middle, and then you have your finished block. Notice that all of the half square triangles end up looking like they're going in the same direction. That's on purpose to give it its reflecting pool kind of look. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very excited to be starting this new project. Our next block will be February 28th, and again we have started in-person classes again. So if you'd like to join us on March 1st from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., that's on a Saturday, we would love to see you. I want to see everybody's finished blocks and do a little show and tell. It's going to be great to see you all. Thank you.